set up. And I just want to start the call before I start recording by saying that I have been dealing with a pretty high fever for the last couple of days, and due to some other internal personnel issues, I'm going to soldier through it here, but just understand that I may be a little briefer, more gruff, and certainly a little more disheveled than I normally am. Hang on just 1 second. Sorry, I have also a sick toddler who's here. Okay, sorry about that. We're usually a little more put together at the Niswonger Foundation. Hello, my name is Law Loving. I am the workforce coordinator on the STEMLD grant. I'm going to introduce a couple of members of my team here shortly, just so you guys kind of know the general crew. We're not all here, but this is a good chunk of us, and chances are you'll be dealing with me or one of the folks on this call in terms of this RFP. Really appreciate y'all being on the call and being willing to respond. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this call going through the RFP line by line. Due to our, the federal nature of this grant, we tried to be extremely thorough. And so hopefully the details that you need are in there. But of course, this call is for you to ask any questions that you may have, and we will answer those to the best of our ability. So let me pause here and go ahead and record this.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's already recording. Law.
Is it? Okay. All right. Very good. So we will upload this call onto our site, and if you have need to go back and review it at any point, you certainly can. I'm going to introduce the team now. So there's a couple of members from Niswonger, the Niswonger Foundation here, all of whom work on the STEMLD grant. So we have Brittany Siebert, who is one of our implementation coordinators. We have Brashay Helton, who is another one of our implementation coordinators. And we also have John Payne, who does some technical assistance for us. We also have a technical advisor on this grant, and that's Adrian Barnes. So Adrian will be helping us to make sure we vet any responses to the proposal for the technical components. We are not software programmers or tech folks ourselves. So Adrian is graciously stepping in to help us with that piece. So thanks for being here, Adrian. I do want to just briefly frame the grant that this project is coming out of, and then let y'all ask any questions you may have. We can go as long or as short as we really need to today. So first of all, we all are part of a larger nonprofit organization called the Niswonger Foundation. We started a little over 20 years ago now in Northeast Tennessee. The goal of really serving rural school districts in particular. We're in the heart of Appalachia, so we have a lot of small school systems, a lot of poverty, and so we try to address those things through our programming. Historically, we've only served the northeast corner of the state, although increasingly we are serving the entire state and even some additional areas around this region. So that's not because we set out to conquer the world or anything. It's just that the need is there, and as we've developed expertise, we've tried to help out where we can. That's sort of the background of the foundation. Over the last handful of years, we've really shifted into a mode where we are working on large federal grant projects in particular. We also work on some large state level projects as well. And that's where STEMLD comes in. So STEMLD is an EIR grant from the Department of Education, and it's a 5-year grant. We're in year 3 right now. Among the goals of this grant is to help shift STEM culture in our area in a positive direction via professional development, and also opportunities for students both outside the classroom and also with advanced coursework as well. So happy to talk more about the grant itself and all the other activities and things that we're doing as part of that. But along the way, one of the things that we uncovered that is a real outage for our area is it is very difficult for folks to know what their opportunities are in the STEM world. So a student in any given school may understand that, hey, there's a summer camp that's being advertised at my school, or they may understand that there's a robotics club after school, but they are not going to know what's happening one county or one system over. Likewise, a parent may really struggle to get their kids plugged in with the STEM type of opportunities that are out there for them. So they may want to help their student get engaged in some of these opportunities, but they just don't have a centralized location to do that. We also uncovered along the way, as we did some pre-research for this RFP, that teachers feel the same way, that they struggle to be able to advise their students in terms of what their opportunities are. They only know what they're given, and it would be nice for them to have a deeper resource that allows them to be a little more comprehensive. On top of that, we've also learned that teachers themselves would like the opportunity to participate in some of these opportunities, and their scope for understanding what professional development opportunities are available to them is pretty limited. So if you think about a small rural high school, chances are they've only got one chemistry teacher there. It would be really nice for him or her, to be able to go out and figure out some extra opportunities for professional development, but they just don't have a great way to do that right now. And so that's really where the idea for STEM.LD Connector, which, by the way, we're not married to that name, so if you want to pitch us on something better, by all means, do so. But that is really it in a nutshell. So that's the vague description. Let me stop here. I assume that you all have had a chance to at least glance through the RFP. I will let you come off mute one at a time here as you need to, and let you ask any questions you may have about the project.
I'll go first.
Yep.
It says the contract period will end at December 31st, 2025. When are you anticipating the delivery of the software? Do you expect it to be before that, or on December 21st or 31st, 2025?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the December 31st, 2025 is the end date of the grant. So the grant runs a calendar year, and 2025 is the last year. So we just put that in there as a backstop. It's also important to note that the way that we do our budgets is on an annual basis. So we have a total amount that we try to be flexible with and rejigger every year, so that we can put resources where they need to go. So we would expect this relationship, this RFP, to at least go through some iterations over the next 2.5 or so years. But we want you to deliver it on that day. We would want to deliver it sooner while we still have the grant, be able to kind of roll it out into schools, for students and families and teachers, and get a read on things, and then maybe go back and do some revisions and iterations. We also know that there's a real chance that, in fact, we're pretty certain there's a chance that we'll need to continue some, how do I want to put this, like some ongoing maintenance, server hosting, that kind of thing. John, hop in if I'm not using the right terms there. But anyway, we know that there will be ongoing costs to developing something like this beyond just 2025. But that date is really just the end of the grant.
So to tie into that is you also expect us to provide a cost estimate for that as well. Do you expect new features during that period, and is that intended to be included in that 5-year, 6-year additional time?
It's possible. I think we would want to address new features as they come, as we identify a need. So part of that might be just leaving the development of the software open-ended enough to be able to do that. We're not really sure what the budget for this is, in terms of, like, I mean, we know how much we have to spend on it, but we're not sure, like, this is a foreign world to us, so we're not really sure beyond what the original pieces that we've pitched in this RFP, what things would want to be added or need to be added. But we certainly could add things if we had the budget to do so, and it made sense to.
Okay, and then so with that, just another follow-up is you're talking about maintenance and support. That's the maintenance and support of the product. That's not support for users. We're not going to have to take user calls or anything like that.
That's correct. Yeah, we would want it to be, I mean, other than their ability to maybe reset a password or something. No, we don't want to get into the business of having a place to call or anything like that. It would just be hosting. If there's a glitch or a bug, that needs to be cleaned up, that kind of thing.
Sure. Okay. I have more, but I'll let somebody else have a turn.
Sure. You're welcome to keep going, Michael.
Or I'll go again. That's fine. Yeah.
Pravina, if you want to hop on there, you did come off mute.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a preferred hosting platform right now, or is it open?
No. So we tried to be as detailed as we can, but admittedly, whoever we end up selecting for this contract, we will want to have you help us a bit in terms of choosing the right hosting platform. Having us kind of holding our hand and guiding us on what the best features are, what the right way to build things are. We have ideas, but we're relying on y'all as the experts to sort of put us in the best situation.
And definitely you want to move away from Google sites.
Sorry, say that again.
Right now, the site is on Google, right? So you want to move away from that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think we're agnostic to that. I mean, we have a STEMLD grant website, but our thought is that this would be a standalone product. That's a free Google site we've just created to have a place to put stuff. It's certainly not a very finished product. Yeah, and it's definitely worth mentioning, and it's I think this is in the RFP in more than one place, but understanding the type of users that we have, I think it needs to be very translatable between a desktop and mobile setup, and whether that's an app and a desktop website type thing or some kind of hybrid of those things. That's up to y'all, but definitely we're expecting this to be something separate from the STEMLD website that we have currently.
In the section C7 training, you said provide a narrative and high-level plan for addresses training and user guide. That's for the end users, correct? That's not for like you guys.
Yeah, I certainly think that along the way we'll have the opportunity to kind of get some training just ad hoc to understand how the platform works. But yeah, we would certainly like to have some walkthrough guides for a parent user, a student user, and a teacher user. We've built a couple of other platforms and websites as part of other projects, and so I've become fond of kind of the phrase or the saying, like, think about whoever the least tech savvy person is that you could come across, and in rural Tennessee that might be somebody who's really unfriendly to tech. They need to be able to use the site. So whatever kind of walkthroughs can be built to help somebody get into it and get plugged in, that's what we mean there.
Okay.
Are you able to speak at all to your hope for kind of like the level of production value that you're envisioning for those trainings? If this is something that might also be used for marketing purposes. I'm just trying to imagine if you're looking for something that's really beautifully produced, or if it's really just about getting the content across.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we have a firm vision for that. Obviously, we'd like for it to be aesthetically pleasing, but there's a lot of ways to skin that cat for sure. I think, it would be nice to have like some walkthrough videos, but we could also plan to record some of those on our own potentially if we needed to do that. I think about websites when you first sign on and they sort of have a pop-up window and they give you like a walkthrough, step by step. Hey, don't forget there's this feature. Don't forget there's that feature. The next step is to complete this thing. It could be something as simple as that. I say that's simple. Maybe that's not that simple to do, but it could be something as easy as that. It could be a really high production, like 5-minute YouTube video walkthrough. I don't know. But yeah, just something that will allow the users to kind of work their way through using the site.
That's helpful. Thanks.
So kind of to follow on to Sarah's question is, the design can be huge, right? We can design at this level or this level. Is it possible to share like how big the grant is so we know kind of where we should be thinking about this?
You're talking about like, so the grant itself is an $8.8 million grant. Now, obviously, this is not an $8.8 million project.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have a firm budget on this, so we're sort of, we have money to spend. Let me say it that way. So sure. We want you guys to put strong bids forward, and if that means there's some extra bells and whistles, that's great. I mean, we could always down select off of some of those things down the line if we need to. We do have some rules in place if bids go above a certain amount, which I don't want to reveal for the interest of not biasing anybody on their bids. But If bids come in above a certain level, we would have to kind of redo this process substantially. So, so certainly give us your best price, but we do have money to spend on this for sure. As far as scale, let me just add one more point on that. So right now, this grant serves 60 middle and high schools. Our region actually contains about double that. I've done different estimates different ways, but if everybody in the world participated in this, which is never going to happen, but everybody in our service region, there could be tens of thousands of users. So, it's not a product for, 500 kids to be using at one school. It needs to be able to be scaled to that level.
And it is a fixed bid, right?
It's a fixed what?
A fixed bid? Fixed cost?
Yes, fixed cost. Yep. Barring additional features and things. So, I mean, keep in mind, right? We have this RFP. We'll go down the line. Working on the bid. And if you're selected, and then later on we decide we need to add something else, we can establish a secondary contract to do that. Sure. So it's not fixed cost in that sense, but certainly for this first bid, yes.
Okay. How are the users given access or selected to use the product?
Yeah.
Is there any verification or anything?
So we've certainly talked about like ways to do this or what the best way to do it is. Certainly we think early on, because we've already got we have schools participating in this grant. We will do some beta testing or alpha testing even with some of the schools in the grant, so we can do the verification on a smaller scale for those folks. We've been in discussion with the school systems themselves about actually distributing this when it's ready to their students, like via their own networks, because that's one of the big questions: is how do you actually get people to adopt this website and actually use it? So if they're doing it that way through the school, then it becomes pretty easy to to verify them, because they're going to be using a school email to get set up. It's going to be a very structured way to do that. So beyond that, I don't know that we have a strong thought about verification. You're welcome to pitch us on some different ideas within your RFP response. I do also want to mention, so we've talked about 3 stakeholder groups. There is a 4th stakeholder group, which is the organizations that are actually offering these opportunities. So our community colleges, our 4-year schools, other nonprofits, other folks that have been partnering on the grant with us. So we'll need a way to vet them and allow them to actually put events on the website or on the app. So the idea of, we can have all these users on there, but if they don't actually have things that they can get engaged with, then it's sort of pointless. So we will need a way to sort of like verify them, or for them to request access to the site. But that's something that I think our staff would be doing to take on that role of approving those folks and vetting, hey, this is a legitimate organization with actual STEM activities. I don't know how many users would have that type of access, but it's probably not a huge number.
Law, is this a different group of schools than the STEMLD schools that you're looking at?
So sort of. It would certainly include all the STEMLD schools, but it would also be schools that maybe didn't opt to participate the first go around with STEMLD. So there are about 130 total schools that could have participated, and we would certainly want them to have access to this, just because they didn't sign up for STEMLD 2.5 years ago in the middle of COVID. We don't want to penalize their students. We do have thoughts that if this works well, and to be clear, I mean, we're innovating here. The I in EIR grant is innovative, or innovation, something like that. So it's something that may not work, but we're going to give it a shot, and we think this could potentially have some big payoff if it does work. We do think there's the opportunity for this to be spread to other regions, and we've got to be careful that we don't get too big beyond our region, because eventually, you're advertising something in Memphis, and that's 8 hours away from where you live. That's no good to a student in our part of the world. But certainly, as part of this grant, we have to have this software be open source. Others could pick it up and run with it in their own area, and we would be tickled if that happened. But our intention, Perry, is to serve our corner of Northeast Tennessee.
Right.
I apologize for the light chatter in the background. I don't know how much of that y'all can hear, but I have both of my toddlers in the background today too. It's a sick family deal. So
I'm a little bit confused, and you mentioned the software being open source, but in section C4 you say something about provide an outline of the subscription or perpetual license model used. So maybe you could help me understand that.
That may need to be revised. So we pulled an RFP from a different project essentially and worked from that, and it's only been within the last week and a half that we got clarification. So we had to go back to the feds to ask about the open source thing, because we found that in there and it wasn't clear that would apply to this kind of product, and they finally worked it through their chain and said yes, it does need to be open source. So if we need to amend that, and we have at least a couple of other things that we may need to amend around insurance and one or two other things. I have an email from our project director who is not on the call, but Dr. Vicky Kirk, you may see her name. She has done a lot of the work on this. So just know that there may be some amendments, but if that runs contrary to the open source thing, it needs to be open source.
Okay.
And I do appreciate you doing your homework, Michael. Other questions, other thoughts? So some housekeeping here. This call will go up on the website, so you can go back and reference it. As you get to thinking about this RFP, if you have further questions, you can email them to us, but just know that we will then have to list them on the website. So, and that might be fine, but just don't ask us anything super proprietary on your end, because we'll have to post them in fairness to all the other bidders. But yeah, if you have further follow-ups, you're welcome to email those to the same email listed in the grant. I believe it's STEMLD RFP at gmail.com, and we'll post those and answer those. Brittany's dropped it into the chat as well. But yeah, thank you for being on the call today and bearing with me. I know I'm a little bit scattered today, but hopefully we'll be in a little better shape next time if we get to chat again.
Sounds great. Thank you.